All right, you've seen the product. Now it's time to take action. It's all about that miracle food. My man Chakra Doctor has put some of the greatest superfoods on the planet here in one bottle for you. I know we see COVID going crazy and a lot of different things, testing our immune system. This right here is a perfect cleanse and reboot. Great for the immune system and a great anti-inflammatory. Miracle food. Tell them Viral Hip Hop News sent you. Let's go.
People assume it does all the time.
Let me ask you this, because we hear and we know that this country was built on violence, and we know that sometimes that rioting is necessary, tearing shit up is necessary, but we also know that we're outgunned and outmanned in that regard if it really got serious right now, because most of us don't know how to even properly shoot and conduct proper warfare and things like that, and aren't combative and trained in that regard, where you see 5- and 6-year-old white kids shooting ducks and shit and getting into hunting and learning that early. You never hear any of our people talking economically, though, because we are the biggest spenders in America. And if we shut that down, change will come, because with money and power comes movement. Why don't you hear, or why don't you, in your opinion, think you hear any of our major officials speaking on that when it comes to what to lead Black people to do, and if in fact injustice is served in situations?
Well, you know, you got at least a couple types of Black leadership. You've got, you know, let's say my style of it, even though I don't call myself a Black leader, but I know I influence.
You are. Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that compliment, man. I accept that humbly, even though I think we can all lead, right? But here's the deal, man. I think that you've got the Black nationalist type of leadership that says build educate our own kids, you know, create our own businesses, build economic independence, grow our own food, things like that. And then you've got what I would call integrationist leadership that says, you know, we will succeed and we have overcome and achieved when white people start treating us better. They start giving us more jobs. They start giving us, you know, important positions in their companies. Let us live in their neighborhoods. Let us go to their schools and just accept us, you know. And in that particular case, you're talking about more of a compromised kind of positioning, because in a way you're trying to become part of that body, so you can't really be as radical as you can be if you're in a space like I have the space where, look, why do we even need anybody else? You know, like, let's just build our own and do it ourselves. Whereas an integrationist is more focused on trying to sort of get in without doing too much damage in the process, right? And so I think that what that does is it creates an interesting type of protest, where you're seeking the right alliances. Like you're sort of saying, okay, we got all these white people, these white liberals who are not as bad as the white conservatives. So let's align with them and let them kind of guide us on what represents acceptable protest, right? So in a way, a good way to kind of compare it would be like if you talk about, let's say that there's a man who is abusive to women, and there's one lady who wants to actually marry the man. She doesn't want to get rid of the man. She just wants him to be a better man, right? So she's going to approach him differently than, say, like a lesbian who has no need for men. She wants men gone, you know. So in a way that lesbian might describe where somebody like me would be, where I'm like, you know what, we don't even need any of that. Like, forget your jobs, fuck your schools. We can build our own, all that. Whereas, you know, the integrationist says, no, let's be patient. Let's just give them a chance, you know. And so I think that economic piece, it's interesting because there's a type of, in my view, there's like a white supremacy, almost paternalistic, like childlike kind of thing, where we see white people like our parents, right? Like, so for example, if we want our kids to get better education, there's some people say, let's just build our own schools. There's some people who say we need white people to build us better schools, right? Or if we need more economically, there are those of us who say, let's build our own businesses. But then there are people who say, no, let's get white people to hire us in their companies, right? So I think that economic piece is something where it kind of represents sort of that next step in freedom and independence that only certain people are prepared for. Like, only really the talented 10th and the most courageous people, in my view, are the ones who can say, look, we can do this ourselves. You know, there are some people who don't have confidence. They don't believe that they are worthy of anything unless they are validated by white people. They don't, you know, they feel more accomplished when they get hired by white people, when they get recognized by white people, you know, and I would not consider myself to be in that category. So yeah, I think that it's a matter of screaming out the economic piece. We know that that's important. And I think that our leadership, unfortunately, most of the Black leadership that you see on TV is selected by white supremacy, which means that they're not going to have your best interests at heart. you know, because you can't really fight a white supremacist system and be nominated and rewarded by that system at the same time. Right. Your greatest black leaders are the people who've been completely rejected. And that's where we have to turn our focus if that's your ideology.
A great point. I'm going to talk to you about Black Lives Matter and their founder, one of the founders, Patrisse Khan-Cullors. A couple of weeks ago, she was pretty much accused of misappropriation of funds. They said that she bought like $1 million home out in L.A. I did see a rebuttal with the brother. Forget the brother's name. What's the black brother's name that's on ABC?
I know you talk. Dang, it's
cat from Philly. I forget his name. Mark Lamont Hill.
Yeah, Mark Lamont.
And she was explaining how, you know, it was her own money. Do you have any insight on that situation? And if you do, and if you don't, you know, could you talk about Black Lives Matters and your thoughts of that organization?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's well, her explanation. First of all, I mean, the first word that comes to mind is bullshit, right? Like, I mean, come on, you know. But you know, the thing is that there's kind of this like they're these civil rights superstars that are sort of part of the black struggle industry. That so what happens is that you protest a little bit and you align with all these white liberals who really aren't going to make real progress for black people. Their interest is not in elevating the black community. They're maintaining white supremacy in a certain way, and then next thing you know, you're doing Cadillac commercials, you're getting nice corporate jobs. You're you're on TV, you're getting big payouts, and you have access to things that the masses of black people don't have. And the big gripe that people have with Black Lives Matter, which is a legitimate gripe, is that corporations then saw Black Lives Matter as the gatekeepers of the black community, just like they saw Al Sharpton and all the other, you know, usual suspects. And that is a type of white supremacy in the sense that you've got the masses of the people that don't have access to the things that we need. But you've got the civil rights superstars who position themselves as the gatekeepers, or what I would call not so much black leaders, but Negro managers, right? They say, look, we have influence over this huge segment of black people. So in order for you to remain in the good graces of these people, you have to write us a check. And it doesn't mean that they're doing anything criminal necessarily with that money, but it does mean that you have to really, first of all, observe the fact that they're not really solving anything. You know, they're like the healthcare industry where they just manage illness. They're not trying to cure anybody, right? If you get cured, then there's no need for the hospital. There's no need for the doctors, no need for the medication. So they're not really able. They don't have the skill set, nor the resources, or the will to truly solve the problem, to really dig to the root of it, because inherently they represent white supremacy. Because their idea of improving the black community is that we can improve black people if we get white people on board. Right. And maybe one day white folks will get on board. But even if they get on board, they're only going to get on board so far, because you got to understand, you live in a capitalist society. You know, when with capitalism, they'll bring you in. Like, they're always happy to integrate you, but they will integrate you the same way a pimp will integrate a hoe. Like, they'll integrate you the same way an employer will integrate an employee. They're not integrating you to run the company. They're integrating you to work for the company. They're not integrating you to own the land. They're integrating you to rent the land. They're not integrating you to be a producer. They're integrating you to be a consumer. So what you will in effect have, you know, and that's why I pay attention now. You know, Mark Lamont Hill works at that big white university temple, right? And he goes and he speaks all around the country to big white, white to crowds of white people who cheer him on. And there's a price to that. It does not mean Mark is a bad guy. I've known Mark for many, many years, and I think he's a brilliant guy, but he's not a person that can really truly elevate the black community in a structured way in a capitalist society, because the people that'll really move black people forward might be somebody that has let's say you created a committee with like Ice Cube and let me think here. I'm trying to think. So some brother with capital, the guy that has the $1 billion company in Chicago, and you pulled him, maybe Master P, maybe somebody like myself. Like we're the individuals that would actually understand what's necessary to truly play that game where you're looking eye to eye with the white man. They know how to play the game where your eyes are looking right at the testicles. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, I'm gonna massage your balls, and then you're gonna be nice to me, but I'll never be your equal. So white supremacy will always maintain itself, because I'm not even really truly trying to compete with you. I'm simply trying to coexist and be accepted by you. So with Black Lives Matter, one of the biggest challenges that people have with Black Lives Matter is that Black Lives Matter is not a black organization. Black Lives Matter is a white liberal organization in blackface. You know, it's like if you go to China, you will find authentic Chinese restaurants in China. But then you'll also see McDonald's next to those restaurants, and they'll have some Chinese food in the McDonald's because they're like, we're in China, so let's make it Chinese. Let's put some Chinese colors. I remember I was in China. The food's a little different. It's got different colors, different flavors. You would expect, right? But it's still McDonald's. It's just the Chinese version of McDonald's, which is different from an authentic Chinese restaurant. So Black Lives Matter is not an authentic black-rooted organization rooted in the principles necessary to really elevate the black community. Black Lives Matter is the black version of white Marxism. All the founders are Marxists, right? Nothing wrong with Marxism. There's a lot of good ideas in Marxism, but there are those in the community who care about the community who don't want to be Marxists. Or if you read Black Lives Matter's statement, they're real clear. They tell you who they are. It's like the Joe Biden thing. They're not hiding this, right? If you read, you can see they pretty much go right into it on blacklivesmatter.org and explain what they care about, what they represent. So they're not necessarily evil or bad or corrupt. They're just not the solution that's going to elevate an entire community. They're there for black people that can align with their view of what the world should look like.
Is that good or bad for us as a whole?
I think it's good in the sense of using their access to white people to draw attention to certain issues that we might care about. I think that there are things that we can all unify around, right? Like we all saw George Floyd. We agreed on that. But where they become bad for the community is they create this. It reminds me of, man, it makes me think about when I play to connect with my sons. I started playing Call of Duty, right? Millions of people play this game. It's a great game. And one thing I had to learn was that when I'm shooting at a target, I can't get tunnel vision, like where I'm sitting looking at that target, because if you're focused on that one target, you can get hit from the left, the right, the back. You're not looking at all the things happening around you. Y'all ever play the game? I don't know if y'all ever seen it.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. If you get tunnel vision, well, I'm gonna chase that guy down and I'm ADSing on him. Like I'm not gonna see all. I'm gonna get shot in the head right from the side, right? So that's kind of what Black Lives Matter does to the black community. It gets us focused on one target. Like all we're thinking about is this one particular thing, and then all this other shit's happening. All these terrible things are happening in our communities, and we're not even giving them any light of day, any attention at all. And the reason I connect that to white supremacy is because the people that decide where our attention is going to be don't come from our community. It's CNN. CNN starts talking about it, so we start talking about it. Yeah. So to cure white supremacy, we got to cure ourselves. We have to stop constantly caring about what everybody else thinks. Like I just stopped watching. I don't watch MSNBC. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch hardly any mainstream media anymore because I don't want them dragging me around by my nose, telling me what thing I should care about this week. Like that whole Asian thing, I didn't pay attention to that shit. That was stupid. That was completely manufactured and artificial and fake, period.
What's good, man? This is Sam Ant, CEO of Viral Hip Hop News. Listen, I appreciate each and every one of y'all who are going to check out this documentary. Shout out to my man, Lonnie Fresh. Do me a favor. Go to YouTube right now. Go subscribe to Viral Hip Hop News, one of the best hip hop platforms out here right now. We also have The Hub, Hip Hop News Uncensored, of course, the podcast, the baddest podcast out, the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. We drop 7 days a week, doing this thing 100% independent.
There was not one day that I was at work on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that I wished I was somewhere else.
Now let's talk about the Players Club, because you, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that's like your first major role in a movie, right?
Taking over the game. Really appreciate each and every one of y'all. You can grab merch on the YouTube site. You can talk to me on there and much more. Sam Ant, CEO of Viral Hip Hop News. Appreciate each and every one of y'all. Oh God, you the man, Cass. I spit white like a clan mask, and I'm a hustler.